Just to tell you a little bit about me, I've been an actor all my life. In fact, I have no conscious memory of ever not being an actor. I couldn't identify it as such when I was a child until I started going to the movies around age 5 or 6, and I began to realize gradually that I was like those people up on the screen, and so everything was fine with me. It was an extraordinary revelation, and I knew even then, as most children know when they're so young, that I would never be happy if I did not pursue that wondrous mystery that possessed me and which gave me a possession of myself. So in a sense, my chosen profession was a foregone conclusion. But while acting is what I do for a living, activism is what I do to stay alive. And I'm often asked how I manage to unite the two, and the answer is I don't have a clue, because it was never a question of conscious effort. It was natural progression. Of course, if you grew up in a very large immigrant family, chances are you're either Irish Catholic or Hispanic, and I was lucky enough to be both. So I had a head start when it came to social justice activism. Both of my parents were immigrants. My father was Francisco Estevez, or as the Spanish say, Estevez. He was born on July 2nd, 1898, in a little village near Vigo in northern Spain. And those history majors here at the university will know that that date is just about 3 weeks before the United States declared war on Spain. So my father was in for a long haul from the start. My mother was Mary Ann Phelan. She was born in a little village called Borsicane, County Tipperary in Ireland, on May 22nd, 1903. They met in Dayton, Ohio, and they were married in 1927. They had 12 pregnancies, 10 survived, 9 boys and 1 girl. I'm their 7th son, and as I mentioned, my real name is Ramon. I'm very fond of quotes. I'm always looking for quotes, gathering them from wherever I can as I go to share in my public speaking. Now I'm getting a little nervous about the girl sitting in the front row with the yellow card who's going to tell me how little time I have left, and I haven't seen her. Where is this little girl with the blonde hair? It's you. I got my eye on you. Okay. And I can't wait to see that yellow card. But I was speaking earlier this morning, and I was talking about these quotes. For example, I love Yogi Berra's quote of, "When you get to the fork in the road, take it." Or Bishop Tutu's quote celebrating women. He said, "Women who want equality with men have no ambition." Thank you. And of course, FDR's famous quote about fear. You know, the only fear we have is fear itself. But more appropriately, Franklin Roosevelt's advice to public speakers is in play for me now. It is, he said, be sincere, be brief, be seated. So just the other day, you know, I'm always looking, as I say, billboards, books, even bathroom walls, anything that I see scrawled that is inspiring, I make it part of my my own store. Well, just the other day, this actually happened, not like a lot of the things I said previously, but I'm in traffic in Los Angeles, and I spy a bumper sticker that absolutely fascinates me. I can't quite make it out. Something to do with fear and faith, but I can't get, and finally I get up behind him, and I've got enough time to scribble on a piece of paper on the seat beside me, "Don't try this at home," to get it. And I followed him through a couple of lights. We didn't run them, but you know, but I had enough time to write it down, but it was kind of scribbled. And when I got home, what the bumper sticker said, as I read it, "Fear is useless, faith is necessary, love is everything." That's wonderful. And I had it on a scrap of paper. I left it on the top of my desk and went about my business. And as I prepared to leave for my journey, I went looking, and I couldn't find the paper. And I started to panic, and I yelled out to my wife, Janet, have you seen this scrap of paper? I can't remember what it says, something about fear and faith, but I can't remember what. Oh, she says, yeah, I saw that. I put it in the top drawer on the left. I said, oh, thank God. I opened it, and there it was, thank heaven, with a slight alteration. Now it said, fear is useless, faith is necessary, money is everything. Now, is this the group that I'm addressing that has a lot of fundraisers in it? There's people with a lot of dough. I'm supposed to ask if they want to make some donations? That's the next group. Oh, I saved that for... Okay, fine. These are the serious, well-meaning, very poor people. Okay, fine. Thank you. Yeah. All right, here's a quote. Each time someone stands up for an ideal, wrong speech, wrong glasses, right speech, right glasses. Each time someone stands up for an ideal or acts to improve the lot of others or strikes out against injustice, they send forth a tiny ripple of hope. And crossing each other from a million different centers of energy and daring, those ripples build a current which can sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression and injustice. Those words were said at the height of apartheid at Cape Town University in 1966 by Robert Francis Kennedy. They are inscribed on his memorial at Arlington National Cemetery as well, and they have been a great source of inspiration for my generation ever since. The more the world changes, it seems the more it remains the same, I believe, because the three most important needs of every human being on earth are not only food, clothing, and shelter, but equally the need for justice, healing, and mercy. Without the latter, the former are useless. It is the gross inequality of food, shelter, clothing that divides us, of course, but it is the absolute necessity for justice, healing, and mercy that unites us. The world, of course, is a far different place than when I came to it in 1940. There are infinitely more people with a far less certain future. And for many of you young people to be here is a concrete, very realistic expression of your hope for the future, because, as Shaw said, you see things that are as they are and do not ask why. You see things as they are and say, why not? So what I'm going to try to do is just to encourage you to keep on keeping on. You have no idea how important what you do and how you do it is to our national health and to our culture. No one can ever really tell us anything that we don't already know instinctively. That is, any fundamental truth. But the challenge lies in accepting the responsibility for that knowingness. So whether we choose to acknowledge it or not, we're all responsible for each other and the world, which is exactly the way it is, because consciously or unconsciously we have made it so. And while none of us made any of the rules that govern the universe, we do make all the rules that govern our own hearts and minds. And we are all beneficiaries of those wonderful, kind, and generous strangers who have gone before us over the centuries and assure us that the world is still a wonderful place and a safe place despite our fear. And we're not asked to do great things, we're asked to do all things with greater care. As such an idea is rare in a culture of so many compromised values and so much cynicism, a culture that all too often knows the price of everything and the value of nothing. And yet there remains a very real and mysterious yearning deep within every human heart that compels us to reach outside of ourselves to help others for our own sake. And this yearning is a manifestation, I assure you, of our true selves and can lead us to the very first small conscious acts of heroism, which often brings rejection from the crowd but satisfaction from the heart. But realistically, know that this yearning can be very costly. If it were not so, we'd be left to question its value. But this above all, one heart with courage is a majority. Over the entire history of the human race, every truth began as a blasphemy, and no one has ever really made a contribution of any real worth without self-sacrifice, personal suffering, and sometimes even death. The Irish tell the story of a man who arrives at the gates of heaven and asks to be let in. St. Peter says, of course, just show us your scars. The man says, I have no scars. St. Peter says, what a pity. Was there nothing worth fighting for? The fondest wish I have for everyone I meet, including everyone here today, is that you will find something in your life worth fighting for, because when you do, you will have found a way to unite the will of the Spirit to the work of the flesh, and all of humanity will have discovered fire for the second time. Then may the light and heat from that fire sustain our purpose and make every thought, every word, and every action a personal assurance and a commitment to help heal a broken world wherever we may find it, and so that in the end we may be made worthy of the long-promised blessing reserved for those who show mercy, and that we are capable of helping lift up people everywhere to that place where the heart is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depths of truth and tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sands of dead habit, where the mind is led forward by thee into ever-widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom, my Father. Let us all awake. Thank you. Yes. No yellow card? Thank you so much. I'm not done yet. There's no yellow card. Now I'm really given an extraordinary honor to introduce a very dear personal friend, a man who has helped save lives in my family and in numerous other families all over the world. He has a reputation as the top, the most effective, most courageous interventionist literally in the world. The phrase that follows him is, have skills, will travel, which he has and he does. And I'm so honored to introduce him to you now, and if you are ruled by him for just a few minutes, you will see why he is here and why I spoke first. There's an old Hebrew adage that at the end of our journey, the only things that we can take with us are the things which we cherished and gave away with love, including our precious time and talent. There is no one I know in my 72 years that has given more of his precious time and talent than my dear friend and my hero. Please welcome Mr. Earl Hightower.